It's finally the start of Death Note month. After going through some absolutely crazy family issues I'd rather not divulge here, I've finally been able to get to this. I've got quite the spread of videos planned for this month, 8 in total, each entirely different in tone and approach. I've got several theories, some interesting concept videos, and even some surprises planned. But for now, let's get to the main topic at hand, the Death Note soundtrack. As you've probably guessed from my multiple videos analyzing it, I really love the Death Note soundtrack. It's full of some of my absolute favorite tracks in all of anime, with some real standouts among its lineup. It's sadly overlooked as well, so I figure it's about time I give a look at some of these wonderful tracks. I've got a great lineup of tracks I think you should give a listen to if you have the chance. A list of 10 absolutely gorgeous tracks for your ears to bask in the glory of. One rule before we start. Only one OP and one ED are allowed to be picked. I love all the OPs and EDs, but I think it'd be unfair to flood the list with just those. Gotta give some love to the other tracks, huh? And hey, if you agree or disagree, well, that's normal, it's music, and everyone has different tastes. Instead of complaints, let's be chill here. Tell me what tracks you love and why. Heck, it doesn't even have to be from Death Note. Give me some sweet tracks to listen to in my free time. Without further ado, prepare your ears for greatness as I go over my top 10 Death Note tracks. One of the series' many melancholic tracks, I find Kodoku as one of the most pleasant and calming to listen to of the bunch. It's a chill track and one that befits some of the more depressing moments of the show, of which the show has many. While it doesn't quite match the quality of the other tracks on the list, it's nice to listen to some more sad music from time to time, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the best of the bunch. If you're going to share the same name as the series itself, then you'd better be a really good track. And luckily for this one, it really is a wonderful one. It fits remarkably well with the show whenever it's used, and is one of those tracks that regardless of when I hear it, I immediately can't help but smile. Not just because it's associated with my second favorite anime, but because the track is just utter bliss to listen to. Surely it doesn't put its name to shame. This was a guaranteed choice. I mean, heck, I use it in the beginning of the majority of my videos. That's because, even besides how good it works as background music, it also just sounds really nice. It's one of the series' trademark bouncy guitar tracks, and it's just really fun to listen to. It's the kind of track that, regardless of my mood, is always good. Not much else to say about this one, it's just really enjoyable overall. Talk about neglected tracks. This one barely plays in this series at all, and there's a fairly good reason as to why. This is the series' happy track, and considering the show's concept, there are very few times where it would even be possible for it to show up. Regardless, I love the sound of this one. It's so calming and it differs in tone so wildly compared to its counterparts. It's also just such a pleasure to listen to that honestly I wouldn't mind if there were more fun scenes for it to play in. I'll take what I can get though, and what I got is a track that, while wildly different from the regular Death Note tracks, stands out as one of my favorite tracks in the OST. Of course I was going to put the main theme of Death Note on the list. It's just far too awesome not to. This track serves as one of those few tracks that regardless of where it's placed or when it's played, it never fails to get me hyped up for the show. It doesn't get me hyped up in the same way a really fun combat theme would, but instead it feels like it caps off a battle of the minds, the same kinds of battles that makes the show such bliss to watch. Obvious choice or not, I love this track, and it never fails to get me excited on my many rewatches of the show. The first credits theme, while lacking the metal punch of the second one, is really a fun tune to listen to. Instead of going for the more exciting tone that the second one has, this one decides to go for a more calm, ominous, and most importantly, smooth tone. Somewhat mirroring Light's mentality at the beginning of this show, this track sounds like it's calmly planning something, unlike the second ED that sounds more insane to better fit Light's mental state by the end of the anime. It really was a toss-up between the two. I guess I just prefer the first ED ever so slightly. I feel like this track gets kind of overlooked as far as the Death Note OST goes. I mean, it's a fairly chill track that doesn't seem to initially stand out compared to some of the more out there tracks in the rest of the anime. Regardless of that, however, this track is one that I fell in love with almost right away. It's just so chill. It's that perfect kind of track to just listen to while zoning out. The whole track is so calming that it's pretty much the reason why I began looking through the OST to begin with. It's gonna be a pretty good track then, huh? I feel like I've already talked about this track quite a bit. I mean, I guess I made an entire video on it alone. Yeah, sure, it's pretty cool that the track is actually perfectly linked into the plot itself, but this track is cool even beyond that. The track is perfect for representing L because, well, it sounds like thinking. The repeated melody sounds very much like a mind going over a subject over and over, slowly uncovering more and more of the truth as the song gets slowly more and more complex, leading to a breakout realization of an epic proportion. In that way, I don't think they could have picked a cooler, more representative track for L himself. It's one of those few cases where I don't think they could have made a better theme for L if they'd tried. Some of you may be wondering why I put the first OP over the second one considering my previous statements. What it comes down to is that I like the second OP's visuals more than the first, but I prefer the actual track in the first OP. The World is pretty much a perfect way to start off the series. It's a smooth and suave track that makes it seem like Light has pretty much no chance of losing. The instrumentation in the track is among the best in the OST, and the vocals sound really different compared to your typical anime OP, which is befitting of the show's more bizarre tone in comparison to the rest of the medium. It certainly made for a pretty sweet start to the show, and it still keeps me returning again and again. Before we get to number 1, let's go through a couple honorable mentions since there's a lot of cool tracks in the OST. I wonder how many of you predicted this one. Say what you will about Nier as a character, but love him or hate him, you gotta admit that his theme is pretty sweet. It's this juicy combination of almost sterile sounding instruments combined with some rockin' guitar to create what is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting tracks in the entire anime. It's equal parts mesmerizing and cool, making for quite the highlight and an overall divisive part of the show. I could dive in more to the connections to the plot, much like I've previously done in another video, but I think that even beyond all that, Nier's theme is, at least for the moment, my absolute favorite track in the entire soundtrack. Brilliance was never too far off. It was Nier this whole time. Thanks for listening. If you have your own favorites, why not list them in the comments below. And hey, if you like this video, why not give it a like, or hey, subscribe and click the bell since you gotta do that now. I've got a lot of videos for Death Note Month planned, so get excited. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.